When most people speak of goals, they speak in vague language. They say things like, I want to be successful, or I want to be wealthy, or I want to be happy. And they believe that by repeating these phrases, somehow life will unfold to match them. But life does not reward vague wishes. The mind does not obey unclear commands. If you want to build a system that actually carries you toward your destiny, the very first step is clarity. Without clarity, structure collapses. Without clarity, effort is scattered. Without clarity, you could spend years moving, but never truly advancing. Clarity is not simply knowing what you want. It is defining it in such detail that your subconscious mind can no longer escape it. Imagine telling an architect, build me a house, without giving them dimensions, location, or design. The architect might draw something, but it will almost never be what you envision. The same applies to your life. If you do not hand your mind a specific blueprint, it will build something random. And randomness is not destiny. It is drift. The reason so many never achieve what they desire is because their goals are cloudy abstractions. They say they want financial freedom, but they have not defined what financial freedom means. Is it $10,000 a month? $1 million net worth? A life without debt? Each of these requires a different system, a different plan of action, a different level of sacrifice. Without definition, the goal is just air, and air cannot carry weight. You see, clarity is power because it sharpens the lens through which you view your decisions. The moment your goal becomes specific, every choice either aligns with it or pulls you away from it. If your goal is to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, then every meal, every workout, every late-night temptation is either helping you or hurting you. There is no confusion. But when the goal is vague, such as, I want to be healthier, then almost anything can be rationalized. Suddenly, skipping the gym feels acceptable. Suddenly, junk food feels forgivable. Vague goals invite excuses. Precise goals eliminate them. But clarity is more than measurement. It is also emotional intensity. You must ask yourself not only what you want, but why you want it. A goal without a compelling reason becomes lifeless. The human mind does not chase numbers. It chases meaning. When you attach meaning to your clarity, you ignite motivation that systems can channel. If you say you want financial abundance, ask yourself why. Is it freedom from stress? Is it the ability to provide for your family? Is it the opportunity to travel, to create, to serve? Numbers by themselves are sterile, but numbers tied to purpose become fuel. Clarity requires brutal honesty as well. Many people declare goals that they do not truly desire. They set objectives based on societal expectations, peer pressure, or borrowed dreams. And then they wonder why they sabotage themselves. The truth is, if the goal does not resonate with your deepest values, your subconscious will resist it. You cannot build a system on a false foundation. You must dare to admit what you truly want, not what others want for you. That honesty may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Now, here is the paradox. Clarity does not mean you must know every step. You do not need to see the entire path from beginning to end. What you need is a defined destination, a vivid picture of what success looks like. The path will reveal itself as you build the system. Imagine driving through the night. Your headlights only show you the next 100 feet, but if you trust them and keep moving forward, eventually you will cross the entire country. The same is true for clarity. Define the destination so clearly that your mind cannot confuse it with anything else. The system, the structure, the habits, the strategy will then serve that clarity like a servant serves a master. Think about the greatest builders of history. Whether they were architects, entrepreneurs, or leaders, they never began with random effort. They began with vision. They began with a clear mental picture, a precise design, a vivid outcome. Only then did they mobilize their resources, their energy, and their systems. The man who builds without vision wastes his materials. The man who builds with vision multiplies them. If you look closely at those who fail, you will notice something remarkable. They are often hardworking. They are often sincere. They put in hours, sweat, and sacrifice, yet they spin in circles. Why? Because effort without clarity is like running fast in the wrong direction. You don't need more speed. You need the right map. You don't need more hustle. You need more focus. The system you design will only be as effective as the clarity of the target it serves. So let me challenge you. Take the time to define what you want so vividly that if someone woke you in the middle of the night, you could describe it without hesitation. Put numbers to it. Put dates to it. Put feelings to it. Paint it until it becomes undeniable. When clarity reaches that level, it begins to program your subconscious. You start to notice opportunities aligned with your vision. You begin to attract people, ideas, and circumstances that match the mental picture you've created. This is not magic. This is the natural law of focus. The world bends toward the mind that knows exactly what it seeks, and so clarity is not optional. It is the foundation upon which every system must be built. Without it, your system will crumble under confusion. With it, your system will operate like a guided missile, correcting course, adjusting, and always pressing forward until it hits the target. Remember, this success does not belong to those who merely wish. It belongs to those who define, who declare, who carve their vision into stone before they build their systems on top of it. If you do not know precisely where you are going, any road will take you there. But when you know with absolute clarity, every road that does not lead there is instantly discarded, and that is when life begins to align. So ask yourself now, with full honesty, what do you truly want, and how clearly can you define it? Because the clarity you hold today will determine the destiny you create tomorrow. Once clarity has been established, once the goal has been defined with such precision that it cannot be mistaken, the next great challenge reveals itself. And that challenge is translation. How do you take a grand vision, a mountain of desire, and make it something the human mind and body can act upon daily? This is where so many stumble, for they can see the summit, but they have no ladder. They can imagine the end, but they cannot reduce it into beginnings. The truth is, the mind becomes paralyzed in the face of vastness. Tell someone to build a cathedral and they freeze. But tell them to lay one brick with care and persistence, and suddenly the impossible begins. This is the secret. Every great accomplishment was once reduced to a series of small, clear, repeatable actions. Systems are not built on dreams. They are built on steps. And those steps must be executable today, not someday. Think of it this way. A goal is like a puzzle box with thousands of pieces. At first glance, it seems overwhelming. But the moment you separate the pieces, begin with the corners, and place one after another, the picture emerges. The overwhelm disappears. The same applies to life. When you leave your goal in its grand, untouched form, the weight of it crushes you. But when you break it down into simple, daily actions, the mind feels relief, and momentum is born. This is why systems matter. Systems take the grand vision and convert it into daily execution. They protect you from procrastination, because procrastination thrives where the task is too large to grasp. Consider the person who says, "I want to write a book." For months, they do nothing because the thought of writing 300 pages feels impossible. But if the system requires only 500 words a day, suddenly the impossible becomes inevitable. In less than a year, the book is complete, not through bursts of inspiration, but through the steady discipline of small daily actions. The same applies to wealth, to health, to mastery in any field. No one saves a fortune in a single day. No one transforms their body in a single workout. No one becomes a leader through a single act. Greatness is compounded. Systems allow you to accumulate progress in such small increments that resistance is minimal, but over time the results are monumental. The man who saves $10 a day may not feel wealthy at first, but in 10 years, discipline turns pennies into power. The person who reads 10 pages a day may not feel wise immediately, but in 5 years, wisdom flows through their speech. The law is universal. Little by little becomes a lot. And here lies a deeper truth. When you break goals into daily steps, you train your subconscious mind to accept achievement as normal. The mind resists leaps, but it accepts steps. It rejects the impossible, but it obeys the manageable. If you attempt to leap from weakness to strength in a single bound, your inner voice will sabotage you. But if you progress steadily, day by day, you bypass resistance. You convince yourself that growth is natural. This is why small steps are not merely practical. They are psychological warfare against doubt and fear. Now let us consider another principle: consistency over intensity. Many people begin with fire. They throw themselves into their goals with intensity, with force, with dramatic gestures. But intensity without consistency burns out. The system must prioritize what you can do daily, not occasionally. It is better to walk 1 mile every day than to run 20 miles once a month. It is better to invest a small amount every week than to gamble on a single, reckless risk. True power lies not in the dramatic act, but in the sustained act, and systems create that sustainment. But you must also guard against fragmentation. Do not attempt to split your energy into 1,000 micro goals at once. break one great goal into steps, focus, and move. Once momentum is built, expansion becomes possible. Many fail not because they cannot achieve one thing, but because they attempt everything all at once. The system must be simple, or it will collapse. The brilliance of a system lies in its ability to remove confusion and reduce overwhelm. When you wake each day, you should not wonder what to do. The system should answer that question for you. Ask yourself this: if you never felt inspired again, could your system still carry you forward? If the answer is no, the system is too dependent on emotion. Systems are meant to free you from the volatility of feeling. They allow you to move even when you don't feel like moving. They reduce success to a checklist, and while that may sound mechanical, it is the very mechanism by which freedom is earned, because once you can trust your system, you no longer wrestle with uncertainty. You simply execute. And do not underestimate the psychological power of visible progress. When you break goals into daily steps, you create proof. Each completed step reinforces belief. Each box you check off becomes evidence that you are capable. Doubt withers in the presence of proof. The mountain may still look tall, but when you can look back and see the trail you've already climbed, the summit feels closer. Progress feeds persistence, and persistence guarantees arrival. So I say to you, if your goals feel too heavy, it is not because they are impossible. It is because you have not yet broken them down into pieces your daily life can carry. The weight of the mountain will crush you if you try to lift it all at once, but stone by stone, carried daily, the mountain moves. And this is the essence. Greatness is never the result of one heroic act, but of countless small, invisible victories. Systems make those victories inevitable by turning dreams into steps and steps into habits, and habits into destiny. So remember this truth: the vision may inspire you, but only the daily step transforms you. Do not ask yourself if you can reach the summit. Ask yourself what you can do today that brings you one step closer. For it is not the dreamer who succeeds, it is the one who walks steadily, one step at a time. Discipline is a word that stirs both admiration and fear. People admire it because they know it produces results, but they fear it because they believe it demands constant battle with the self. Most imagine discipline as a daily wrestling match with temptation, a war against laziness, a constant strain of willpower. And yes, willpower can create change for a time, but willpower is a finite resource. It tires, it weakens, it falters. If your system depends entirely on willpower, it will eventually collapse. The secret, then, is not to rely on discipline alone, but to transform discipline into ritual. Ritual removes the debate. Ritual eliminates the negotiation. A ritual is not something you decide to do each day. It is simply what you do. Just as you brush your teeth without inner resistance, just as you tie your shoes without hesitation, so too must the actions that lead to your goals become automatic. Success must stop being a question and start being a habit. Think of how much energy people waste deciding, should I go to the gym today or not? Should I start working on my project or relax a little longer? Should I make the call, write the email, put in the effort? Each question is a drain. Each moment of indecision steals focus and leaks energy. But rituals remove the question entirely. If the gym is always at 6 in the morning, there is no decision. If writing is always at 8 at night, there is no inner debate. The action is predetermined. The system has spoken. This is where the genius of ritual lies. By fixing actions into specific times, places, and conditions, you make success predictable. You no longer depend on feeling motivated. You no longer need to summon strength each day. The ritual carries you. The system makes discipline effortless. It is not that you suddenly become superhuman. It is that you design your life in a way where the path of least resistance is the path of progress. Now understand this: rituals are more than habits. A habit is something you repeat. A ritual is something you revere. A ritual carries symbolic weight. It tells your mind this matters. It elevates the action from routine to sacred. The athlete who laces up his shoes the same way before every game. The writer who lights a candle before sitting at the desk. The entrepreneur who reviews goals each morning. These rituals are signals to the mind and body. They declare that the moment has arrived for focused action. They transform ordinary behavior into purposeful ceremony. And here lies the psychological power. The brain craves certainty. When you attach actions to rituals, you train the brain to expect performance. Just as Pavlov's dog salivated at the sound of a bell, you condition yourself to enter states of focus, creativity, or discipline at will. The ritual becomes the trigger, and the mind obeys. This is no longer discipline in the old sense. It is automation. You are programming yourself for success. Think about the freedom this creates. If you must constantly summon motivation, every day becomes a battle. But if you anchor your actions into rituals, you no longer need to negotiate with yourself. You bypass resistance altogether. You eliminate the wasted time of indecision and channel all your energy into execution. This is what separates the average from the extraordinary. The average person waits to feel like acting. The extraordinary person acts because their rituals demand it. Consider, too, that rituals create rhythm, and rhythm creates momentum. Life itself moves in rhythms. The rising and setting of the sun, the beating of the heart, the cycle of the seasons. When your life carries rhythm, you align with this natural order. You no longer live in chaos, but in cadence. And in cadence, progress accelerates. One day flows into the next, and each day strengthens the one before it. But let us be clear, rituals must be intentional. Many already live by rituals, but destructive ones. The ritual of scrolling endlessly on a phone before bed, the ritual of complaining each morning, the ritual of escaping into distractions when stress arises. These rituals, though unconscious, carry the same power to program behavior. The difference is that they lead downward, not upward. The question is not whether you live by rituals. You do. The question is whether your rituals serve your goals or sabotage them. And once you recognize this, you gain authority over your life. You realize that you are not a victim of inconsistency, but an architect of systems. By consciously designing rituals that reinforce your goals, you free yourself from the constant struggle of self-control. You no longer say, "I must be disciplined today." Instead, you say, "My ritual will carry me today." And in that shift lies true power. Some may think this sounds mechanical, but it is the opposite. It is liberating. Because once your rituals are in place, you are free to direct your higher energies toward creativity, strategy, and vision. You are no longer enslaved by the small, daily battles. Your system has automated them. You have elevated your life beyond the reach of constant temptation. And so I tell you, if you want to guarantee your success, stop relying on fleeting bursts of willpower. Build rituals. Anchor them into your mornings, your evenings, your environments. Make them so automatic that they feel as natural as breathing. Let your rituals become the silent force that drives you forward when motivation is absent. For in the end, greatness is not achieved by those who win the occasional battle with temptation, but by those who design their lives so that victory is inevitable. So I leave you with this thought. Discipline is admirable, but rituals are unbeatable. Turn your discipline into ritual, and you will no longer struggle for success. You will flow toward it day after day, until it becomes your very nature. A system without feedback is like a ship sailing without a compass. It may move with great energy, but it has no guarantee of direction. You can have clarity of vision, you can break your goal into steps, you can even automate discipline through ritual. But if you never stop to measure whether your steps are actually moving you forward, you risk wasting years climbing the wrong mountain. Progress is not found in motion alone, it is found in aligned motion, and alignment demands measurement. The human mind loves to believe that effort equals advancement. We tell ourselves, "I'm working hard, therefore I must be succeeding." But history is filled with men and women who worked tirelessly and achieved little. Why? Because effort was never examined, never corrected, never refined. Hard work is only valuable when it is aimed in the right direction. And the only way to know if it is aimed correctly is to measure. Measurement gives you reality. It strips away illusions and forces honesty. Without it, you live in fantasy, convincing yourself that you're closer than you are, excusing the lack of progress with stories. With it, you face the truth. Either your actions are producing results, or they are not. There is no hiding from numbers, from records, from proof. And though the truth may sting, it is the sting that saves you. For it is better to be wounded by reality than destroyed by delusion. Think of the builder who never checks his levels. The walls rise, but they rise crooked. The effort is immense, but the product is unstable. One storm and it collapses. Yet the builder who checks, who measures, who adjusts stone by stone creates something that endures. The same principle applies to your life. Every ritual, every step must be examined in the light of results. Are you closer to the goal? Is the system serving you? If not, then something must change. But here is the deeper philosophy. Measurement is not punishment. It is guidance. Too many avoid tracking their progress because they fear disappointment. They prefer the comfort of not knowing. But ignorance is not comfort. It is slow death. To measure is to care. To measure is to give yourself the dignity of feedback. When you measure, you declared my goal matters enough to monitor. When you refuse, you confess that your goal is a mere wish. Now understand this: measurement alone is not enough. A man may measure his decline every day and still continue to decline. What matters is adjustment. Systems must be alive, flexible, evolving. Just as a pilot does not set a plane on one unchanging course, but makes thousands of micro-corrections throughout the flight, so too must you adjust continually. Progress is not a straight line, it is a constant dance between action, feedback, and refinement. And this is where many go wrong. They see tracking as a judgment instead of a tool. They measure once, feel shame, and quit. But the wise understand that measurement is not a verdict. It is information. If the data shows weakness, rejoice, for you now know what must be strengthened. If it shows progress, celebrate, for you know what must be multiplied. Either way, you win. For the man who knows where he stands holds power over the man who refuses to look. Let me give you a truth that many overlook: tracking creates momentum. When you record progress, no matter how small, you build a chain of victories. That chain becomes sacred. You hesitate to break it. The more you track, the more invested you become. The journal of your progress becomes a mirror of your character, and you begin to guard it with pride. This is why those who track consistently grow faster. The evidence of growth fuels persistence, and persistence guarantees success. But measurement also requires honesty about failure. When you track, you will see days where you fall short, weeks where progress stalls. Do not hide from these moments. Face them directly. They are not signs of defeat. They are signals for adjustment. Perhaps the step was too large and must be broken down. Perhaps the ritual was poorly timed and must be repositioned. Perhaps the strategy itself was flawed and must be reimagined. But whatever the case, the system must adapt. Stubbornness destroys, flexibility saves. Do not confuse flexibility with weakness. Weakness is abandoning the goal. Flexibility is adjusting the path while never losing sight of the destination. The mountain remains the same, but the route may shift. The wise traveler accepts detours if they lead more surely to the summit. The fool insists on one rigid road and perishes along it. Systems must breathe. They must be able to evolve as you evolve. And let us consider the final benefit: measurement deepens self-awareness. When you track and adjust, you learn not only about the goal, but about yourself. You discover your patterns. When you are strongest, when you are weakest, what environments elevate you, what situations sabotage you. You begin to see your mind as an instrument, one that can be tuned. And once you know yourself at this level, you become far more powerful, because you can design your systems around your strengths and protect against your weaknesses. So let me leave you with this reflection: systems that are not measured die quietly. They look alive, but they are hollow. They waste your energy while giving you the illusion of progress. Do not fall for that trap. If you are serious about achievement, measure relentlessly. And when the measurements reveal truth, adjust without pride, without excuse, without delay. For the man who measures and adjusts cannot fail. He can only refine his way forward. Remember this: the future does not reward those who merely act. It rewards those who act, reflect, and improve. Tracking is the mirror. Adjustment is the tool. Together, they make progress inevitable. So ask yourself today: are you moving because you are progressing, or are you moving because you are afraid to pause and measure? The answer to that question may decide not just whether you succeed, but how long your success endures. Every system you build is only as strong as your ability to sustain it. And sustaining progress is not only about what you do, it is also about what you remove. Too many people sabotage their own systems not through lack of desire, not even through lack of discipline, but through unrecognized friction that slowly bleeds away their energy. Success is not only the product of effort, it is the product of environment. If you design your surroundings and your routines in a way that constantly drains you, you will stumble, no matter how noble your intentions. Think of energy as a currency. Every day you wake up with a limited amount. If you spend it recklessly on distractions, interruptions, and unimportant battles, there will be nothing left for the real work that matters. And the tragedy is that most people spend the best of their energy solving problems that should not exist in the first place. They live in cluttered environments filled with unnecessary temptations. They surround themselves with people who drain rather than elevate. They carry routines that require endless decisions that could have been automated. And at the end of the day, when the time comes to advance toward their goals, they are exhausted. This is why systems must not only prescribe action, but also remove obstacles. It is not enough to know what to do. You must also know what not to face. When the path is littered with distractions, every step feels heavy. But when the path is clear, progress feels natural. The most powerful systems are not the ones that demand the most effort, but the ones that make success the easiest option. Consider the principle of friction. Friction is resistance to motion. In physics, it slows objects down. In life, it slows progress down. And the truth is, friction often hides in the smallest details. The cluttered desk that makes you search for tools before beginning. The unhealthy snacks that sit within arm's reach, testing your willpower at every turn. The phone that buzzes every few minutes, pulling you away from focus. These may seem like little inconveniences, but little inconveniences accumulate into great obstacles. Each one drains energy, each one steals focus, each one delays execution. And over time, these invisible weights suffocate achievement. The wise, therefore, eliminate friction ruthlessly. They design their environment to align with their goals. They remove the distractions before they require willpower to resist them. If the phone is a temptation, they place it in another room during work. If junk food weakens discipline, they remove it from the house entirely. If clutter steals focus, they create order. This is not about perfectionism, it is about energy conservation. Every ounce of energy preserved is an ounce of energy available for building the life you desire. But friction is not only external, it is internal as well. It appears in the form of indecision, worry, and mental clutter. Many people are exhausted not because they have done too much, but because they have thought too much about too little. They live in endless cycles of hesitation, replaying decisions, doubting themselves, scattering their energy across trivial concerns. The system must address this. Guard your energy by simplifying decisions. Create rules for yourself so clear that you do not need to negotiate with your own mind. Decide once and then live by the decision. Do not waste your energy deciding every day. Think about the most effective individuals in history. They often reduced their daily choices to the essentials. They knew that decision-making consumes energy, and they guarded that energy for the battles that truly mattered. This is why some wore the same style of clothing each day, why some repeated strict routines, why some refused to involve themselves in trivial matters. They were not eccentric. They were efficient. They understood that every unnecessary choice was a theft from their higher purpose. There is also the matter of people. Nothing drains energy faster than toxic associations. If you surround yourself with those who belittle your vision, who drain your optimism, who clutter your life with drama, no system will survive. The company you keep is either fuel or poison. Guard your energy by aligning with those who uplift, who inspire, who remind you of your strength rather than your weakness. The right association multiplies your energy, the wrong one devours it. And here is a principle that cannot be ignored. Rest is not laziness. Rest is energy management. Many sabotage their goals not by working too little, but by working without restoration. They push until they collapse, confusing exhaustion for virtue. But exhaustion is not virtue, it is sabotage. A system must include recovery. Sleep, exercise, reflection, solitude, these are not indulgences, they are investments. A machine that runs without pause breaks down. A human being is no different. Guarding your energy means protecting your body, your mind, and your spirit so they can serve you for decades, not merely days. The truth is, elimination is as important as action. Just as a sculptor creates beauty by removing excess stone, so too do you create greatness by removing excess friction. Every obstacle you eliminate increases your efficiency. Every distraction you remove increases your focus. Every toxic element you discard increases your strength. The question is not only what will you do to achieve your goal. The question is also what will you stop tolerating. So let me leave you with this thought. Success is not about fighting harder every day. It is about designing life so that you do not need to fight at all. It is about creating an environment where your energy is protected, your focus is preserved, and your progress flows naturally. Ask yourself now, where is the friction in your life? What drains your energy? What slows your steps? Have the courage to confront it and the wisdom to remove it. Because when you guard your energy and clear your path, the journey to your goal is no longer a struggle. It becomes a flow. And when life flows, Achievement is no longer distant. It is inevitable. The final element of a system that guarantees results is accountability. And let us be clear, no matter how strong your will, no matter how precise your rituals, no matter how carefully you track and guard your energy, there will come a day when you falter. A day when you do not feel like acting. A day when excuses whisper more loudly than your ambitions. On that day, if you stand alone, you may surrender. But if you have built accountability into your system, surrender is no longer an option. Accountability is the safeguard that protects your progress from the weakness of the moment. Human beings are wired for connection. We rise to the expectations of others, and we decline when no one is watching. This is not weakness, it is design. From child, society has trained us to perform under the gaze of accountability. We studied because teachers would test us. We obeyed rules because consequences followed. We showed up to work because paychecks depended on it. But when it comes to personal goals, many abandon this principle. They rely entirely on their private willpower, forgetting that progress multiplies when someone else is counting on you. Accountability is pressure, but it is the kind of pressure that strengthens. A diamond is formed under pressure, so too is character. When you declare your goals publicly, when you involve a mentor, a partner, a community, you create an environment where excuses cannot hide. To fail in private may feel tolerable, but to fail in the presence of those who believed in you awakens a deeper drive. Pride, responsibility, and commitment fuse together, and suddenly the standard rises. But accountability must be chosen wisely. It is not about surrounding yourself with critics who take pleasure in your failures. It is about surrounding yourself with those who demand your best because they see your potential. The wrong accountability crushes, the right accountability elevates. It is the coach who refuses to accept half effort. It is the peer who reminds you of your promise when you are tempted to quit. It is the mentor who holds the mirror to your face when you try to deceive yourself. Such accountability does not weaken freedom. It strengthens it because it frees you from the tyranny of your own excuses. And accountability is not only external. You must also build structures of self-accountability. This is where systems merge with psychology. When you track your progress, when you record your victories and failures, when you review them honestly, you create a dialogue with yourself that demands integrity. The journal becomes a witness. The numbers become a judge. The calendar becomes a reminder. These are silent forms of accountability that keep you honest even when no one is watching. But here is the deeper truth. Accountability turns goals into commitments. A goal is something you want. A commitment is something you owe. When you tell no one, a goal remains optional. When you involve others, when you place your reputation or your word on the line, it transforms into duty. And duty is far stronger than desire. Desire fades with emotion. But duty endures because it is tied to identity. Once you identify yourself as the person who does what he says he will do, the thought of breaking that identity becomes unbearable. Accountability, then, is not only about performance, it is about becoming. Some resist this, claiming they do not want to be accountable to anyone. They call it independence. But true independence is not the absence of accountability. It is the mastery of it. It is the ability to choose the right accountability that strengthens you rather than weakens you. Even the greatest leaders are accountable to their vision, to their mission, to their people. To reject accountability is not strength. It is pride disguised as freedom. And pride, left unchecked, destroys progress. Consider this: history's most successful figures always operated within structures of accountability. They reported to mentors. They built teams who depended on them. They tied their names, their reputations, their legacies to their promises. They understood that without accountability, power corrupts and potential decays. They did not trust themselves blindly. They built systems that ensured they could not betray their own vision. This is what you must do. Do not leave your progress at the mercy of moods. Create stakes. Build systems that make quitting harder than continuing. Announce your commitments. Surround yourself with those who expect your best. Design structures that force honesty even when comfort tempts you. Accountability is not a burden. It is protection. It protects you from yourself, from distraction, from the slow decay of drifting. And once accountability is in place, you begin to experience an extraordinary shift. Your standard of performance rises permanently. You no longer ask, "What do I feel like doing?" You ask, "What must I do to remain aligned with who I said I would be?" This subtle shift changes everything. Life ceases to be a matter of moods and becomes a matter of identity. And when identity and action merge, greatness becomes inevitable. So reflect on this truth: your greatest enemy is not the world, not your environment, not even the obstacles ahead. Your greatest enemy is the voice inside that whispers, "Not today." Accountability silences that voice. Accountability commands action when excuses grow loud. Accountability forces you to rise when comfort begs you to fall. And I leave you with this: if you truly want to achieve your goals, do not merely dream them, do not merely plan them, do not merely ritualize them, declare them. Tie them to your word, your honor, your name. For when your system includes accountability, quitting is no longer an option. And when quitting is no longer an option, success becomes the only outcome.